Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me once again. Today, we're here to discuss the art of pivot. Resetting, it's not really a setback. And I'm joined today by Petra Holcomb, who is a resource executive at Cleaver, where she's been a part of the team for the past 3 years. And she does leadership development coaching as well as professional career coaching as well. And before then, interesting enough, she worked for Southwest Airlines for about 28 years, in which she played different roles, all the way up to leadership programs and talent practices for the whole company. So it seems like quite a huge pivot that she made again after retirement. So we're definitely excited to hear from you and learn from you today. And I guess I did not introduce myself, but my name is Binti Alma, and I have been a part of YEP for the past almost 2 years now, and I have been facilitating these virtual programs for the last 3 or 4 events, and it has been very fun. So definitely thank you for joining me, and Petra especially, thank you for giving us your time. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. I'm very much looking forward to our conversation.
Great. So as we were thinking through this conversation, I think this conversation is very timely in that first, it's almost the end of the year. We're in December of 2025. So it's the time where you're thinking maybe I should make some choices, different choices for the next year. And that could be professionally or in your personal life. But professionally, if you are willing to pivot or look at new opportunities, I hope you can learn a few things today. In addition, especially here in the DMV area, there has been a significant impact to a lot of professions. Whether you're employed by the government or the private industry, we've seen a lot of people being let go from their positions. So we wanted to have this conversation with a professional coach, of course, so that whoever is impacted, again, could learn how to rephrase, reframe, and then reset, of course, so that you can definitely launch into your next position. So,
Yes.
very timely. And now I'm going to give you the opportunity to start this conversation. And I think first we're going to talk about the pre work. So
Yes.
please walk us through that.
That's perfect. So the pre-work, I asked you guys a few questions, things to think about, because if you have been laid off or you are dissatisfied at work with your job, there is a mourning period. You do feel grief. Even though I was with Southwest at 28 years, I had planned to retire when I did. I wasn't laid off. Um, we moved out of the state. I lived in Texas. We moved out to North Carolina. And I mean, we're in a beach community, and I was so excited. And, my whole new life is starting, and I'm retired and I can do whatever I want. Unfortunately, that was not how I felt at all. I was very, very sad. I was missing my friends. I was missing the places that I normally shopped at. I was missing my doctors. I was missing my network. Being in Dallas, it was the center of the country and it was easy for me to travel. So there was a whole lot going on when I retired. Now, when you're laid off, that's a whole different set of grief, but it's grief just the same. If you're dissatisfied at your job and you have to get up in the morning and go to work and you're not happy, there's grief with that as well. So just know it's okay to mourn. It's okay to grieve. And you need to feel the feels. You have to, right? It's going to happen one way or another. So just embrace it. And then, while you're grieving, how can you start changing your attitude and looking towards some of the positive things and the uplifting things and the encouraging things that you want to do and go for? So I asked, what have you always wanted to do, but you haven't had time? Is it learn the guitar? Is it learn how to knit? Is it pickleball, whatever it is you're interested in that you haven't had the time for, what can you go out and do to kind of amp yourself up and give yourself something to look forward to? So it's totally about joining clubs and hobbies, right? Having fun. And then focusing internally, what are your strengths? What are your greatest strengths? What are you good at? What brings you joy at work? What have been your past big successes? And how can you use those to focus on the strengths you had during that time? Now, I don't know if several of you, I mean, there's a variety of different assessments that coaches do. There's a DISC assessment, there's a Myers-Briggs assessment, and then there's a strengths assessment. And this book is called Strengths Finder. It's by Tom Rath, Rath. And it talks about all the different strengths that individuals have. There's usually an assessment along with the book so that you can go in, formally take the assessment, and find out what your top strengths are. This can be very beneficial when you're looking at rebuilding or reviewing your resume, when you're talking about what you want your LinkedIn profile to look like, when you're talking to prospective employers, you're able to use the terminology to showcase what your strengths are. So that's why those questions were asked. And I wanted you all to kind of ponder them as we go through our event today.
That's wonderful. I think I like that you started off with accepting what happened, right? So, which actually on its own is a very difficult thing to do, especially depending on how long you've been in that career
Oh,
or how
yeah.
much effort you've been putting in, right? I
Yeah.
think the first thing you would notice is like that hit in your ego. This has happened to me once where I was let go, and I constantly just compared, why does so and so have the job and I still don't? When I was doing this, when that person wasn't doing this, and so
Yeah.
just the first step of accepting what happened and just whether you need to, sulk a little or feel sad a little, that's very much justified. And
Yeah.
and that's very true. And I like that you're saying that's a moment to look at your greatest strength as well, because
Yes.
it's actually difficult to do, right? Because then now you're also not feeling the greatest about yourself.
Yes. Yes. 100%. And you have to learn what feels comfortable to you on how to brag about yourself, right? It's not natural for us to
Yeah.
to just say, hey, I'm the best and I'm great and I'm going to rock your world and I'm going to do all these fantastic things. It's hard to do especially when you're feeling beat up.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently, so Southwest Airlines, I'd worked there for 28 years. It was near and dear to my heart. My goal there was when I left, to ensure that the message and the mission of Southwest Airlines was going to continue through the opportunities that I'd had to train and lead leaders within Southwest. Um, I would say about 60% of the upper leadership at Southwest Airlines had been through my program at one time.
Hmm.
So I wanted to make sure that that happened. So I loved it. It was my mission, purpose, value. Southwest Airlines was everything I was wrapped up in. Well, just recently they had layoffs. They laid off 1,500 people. And I reached out and I said, hey, you have me as a resource. You've always had me. I know where your heart is. So let's have a little chat. I chatted with 12, 14 people during that time period just to help build them up and let them know that they're okay. And one of my girlfriends in particular, she said, Petra, I sat on my sofa for 3 full days and I went through 3 boxes of Kleenex. And she said it beat me up so bad um, that I had to take that time. And then once she did and just really, laid in it for a while, I call it rolling around in it. You got to roll around in it. Then she was like, okay, I've got it out. I know there's still going to be some barriers for me, but I'm ready to move ahead.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it may
Exactly.
be 3 days, it may be a week, whatever it takes for you.
Exactly.
Everybody's different.
That's true. And I feel like this is also a moment to reframe as well, because and I may be, speaking on behalf of, our audience here, but as immigrants, we have a tendency to define ourselves even our families to define us based on what we do, our accomplishments, and so on. And so when those things are taken away, you kind of feel like you lost your identity as well. So
Yes.
that's a huge moment of like reconciling with who you are and how you identify, how you see yourself, whether
Yeah.
your family structure or even in the community, at large. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a significant moment, I think, of mourning, uh, but it's okay to sulk a little and then come
Well, and it's interesting that you say that because, I gave you the example of, and I'd grown up in Texas. I went to the University of Texas. I was with Southwest pretty much predominantly in Texas. I'd gone to a few other states to do training. But when I moved to North Carolina, it was a little bit of culture shock and it was a little different, comparing what I had there to what I have here in North Carolina. I can't
Yeah.
even imagine what it would be like to go into a whole nother culture, another country where things are just not the same, values, customs, everything. So I can only sympathize with that, just from my small move across the country.
That's very true. But I do like some of the resources that you gave, and I like the Strength Finder book because, as we
Mhm.
said, that may be a moment of weakness for you, and you may have lost, yourself a little,
Yeah.
and so having these resources where you can then regain or understand yourself even or reintroduce yourself even to
Yeah.
yourself, I think is crucial. So um, we would like to have these resources. I think at the end we can create a summary. We
Okay.
can even have a follow up in which you can list what these things are so that people can then look into them on their own.
Sure.
Okay, great. So now we can focus on the main topic, right?
Sure.
The
Sure.
art of pivot. So
Yes.
we've had a conversation, you and I, in which we said, okay, we're looking to pivot, right? Because either we have lost our job, or because we have decided to change our career. And
Yeah.
so I kind of want to hear your ideas, right? Like there's the being forced to do so, and then there's you choosing to do so. So how do you even decide where to restructure your life,
Hmm.
or choose the kind of career that you're looking into? Because you may have gone to a school for years and years, so now all of that is wasted also. So please let us know how you even decided for yourself also to completely switch into this entirely new industry.
That's a great point because, when I was a young woman, I did not really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I had some skills, in artistic endeavors. I paint, I draw, I knit, I crochet, so fiber arts. I loved crafty type stuff, but I went to the University of Texas for a Bachelor of Arts in art. And now I'm a leadership development coach here in my 50s. So was it what I went to school for? No. Um, but like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So, I I knew that I was young and I wanted to travel and I wanted to, see the world and experience things, and maybe then I'd fall into something. So that's kind of what I did. I started with Southwest as a reservation sales agent, picking up the phone. Southwest Airlines, this is Petra. How can I help you today? And, then it transitioned. I found myself moving towards leading and training others and supporting my fellow coworkers that were having trouble with a particular task or trouble with a customer, and how to go through those solutions with them. That transitioned into leadership. Then it transitioned into, hey, I'm pretty good at training. Transitioned into training. And then I started taking some courses on how to get better at that. So I took courses on, um, facilitation. I took courses on curriculum design. So, what goes into a good training program? What does a good trainer look like? And I was fortunate enough that Southwest Airlines paid for those certifications for me. I know some different companies will do that as well, and I definitely suggest you look into that. Then I was certified in a variety of different personality assessments and the 9-box discussions. So when you get into it and you say, I think I want to do this, that's where you can focus your efforts. Find an individual that has the job you want and find out their career path. How did you get there? What did you do? What certifications do you have? What are the best certifications to have so that my resume is on top versus off to the side because it's just like everybody else? What are some of those things that I need? So that's for both focused individuals that have forced individuals that have been let go. It's also for people that are choosing to make a career change. I rely on friends, network, and the opportunities that I get through those connections. Now, I am an extrovert, obnoxiously so, and I'm sorry about that. Actually, I shouldn't be sorry. But I know there's a lot of introverted folks out there as well, and they're like, gosh, peopling is too hard. I understand that. But when you're putting yourself out there and you're looking for a new job, those type of connections, even if it's, a video connection, you have to get out and talk to people. That's the best way and the easiest way you're going to make the right connections. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And if you can scroll to the slide, maybe that will help people track the conversation. I think it's
okay.
Let's.
Okay, we went through that. All right, The Art of the Pivot is a book by Adam Markle, and it shows a lot. It shows a lot of how big companies have pivoted into what they are now. I didn't know this, but YouTube was actually a dating site before it became a video place where you can, stream and put your lives out there. I didn't know that. So it's the art of the pivot is how do you take something that is your core and yet completely change and go in a different direction, even though you're still the same person. So some of the lessons that are learned in that book, we can apply to ourselves, right? So here's the top on this slide here. These are the top chapters, kind of opportunities that it says you need to focus on. So intentional change. And we're going to go into each of these, well, not each of them, but through our tips and then how we reset, we're going to go into these. So intentional change. I know I want to change. I know where I need to go. What is it that I'm going to do? So you have to have a change mindset. A change mindset is actually also going to help you focus on a growth mindset because you're looking to the future. You are saying, I am ready to change. I've got to develop some new habits. I've got to get some different certifications. Like I said, what does that look like? So having the change mindset, set those strategic objectives. What is your action plan? And we're going to talk about goal setting in a minute as well. What are the tough choices that you have to make? What do you have to give up? What do you have to focus on for the future in order to have that change happen? And make sure you are efficient with your resources. That makes sense, right? If you're laid off, you've got to be efficient with your money. And yet you still are going to need money for some of the other potential opportunities you're going to have to look forward to. So be efficient. Foster a culture of experimentation, continuous learning. Basically, it's all about innovation. What is the innovation that you need to do on yourself, on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile? What do those need to look like? And then at the end, of course, we're going to learn from our failures and we're going to focus on that growth mindset. Don't look at I got laid off as a failure, right? Look at it as, okay, this is an opportunity now for me to go out and find something more meaningful and or makes more money and or provides me with the challenges that I want to see. So take from your failure and put it towards your growth.
These are wonderful points that you're making, honestly. And I like that you're starting with being intentional. with
Yeah.
the kind of change that you're making, right? And I know I keep bringing up the whole immigrant mindset, but really, it's very true because for most of us, when we were kids, and people ask you, "What do you want to be?" There wasn't really a lot of options, to really be honest. You're either a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. You have three choices.
Yeah.
So now, as an adult, most people look back and say, okay, I don't know if I actually wanted to be a doctor, right? It's
Yeah.
great that I get to help people, but I don't know if that's really my purpose, if that's what gives me joy, right?
Yeah.
And so, as an adult, you get to make these significant changes, and I think the first thing that ends up happening is really disappointing other people, right?
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's your reputation, not only yours but also your family,
Yeah.
and how you appear within the community. So in that first point, I think there's a lot of work, psychological work, I guess, that would go behind, right?
Yeah.
And I like that you said that it's important to keep your mind open, right?
Yeah.
Like, what opportunities are really out there, and what gives me joy, and not only that, but what kind of lights my fire.
Yeah.
And I mean, the second point also makes a lot of sense, and it's not really a plug, but technically it is. And but yep, the organization that I'm a part of, this is our whole point, is really to bring people into a room where they might not have known each other, right?
Yeah.
And it's to create these conversations, to create these relationships. And nowadays, we know that's where you get to have opportunities.
Yeah.
Really, is through your network, your friendships, and so on.
Yeah.
So I know you gave me some example about your friend when we were
Oh,
talking
yeah.
here. Would you like to share with the audience also?
Are you talking about the gentleman I had a conversation with?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So he was also a Southwest employee way back in the day, and we worked together. He had moved on to another company and just got laid off. Um, Smart guy. He says, I have a friend in Petra. Will you chat with me for a little bit? I got laid off and I need some guidance. I'm a cheerleader at heart, so I'm gonna give him some, pump him up and make him feel good. Um, we sat down and talked for about an hour, great conversation. Within this week, this was earlier this week, within this week from that conversation, I've already talked to two of my friends that are in completely different areas, that are looking for, potentially in the new year, looking for someone with his talents. And he has already got networking opportunities set up, lunch with one of them, and a phone call or interview with another. So this is within a matter of a week. And he was hoping he would have something by the middle of January. Now he hasn't been hired yet,
Yeah.
but he's got two really good conversations that are going to happen this week that may even lead to another individual that he can chat with to find the right fit for him. But so it pays to reach out to your friends.
Mm, exactly. And it's not just reaching out to a person that may already have a role, like the role that you're interested in, but for example, what you're doing currently is facilitating the conversation between two people
Yep.
that may not even had that connection, right? That network.
Yep.
So as embarrassing as it sounds, I think it's very important to put yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
And reach out to almost all of your network, because you don't know who knows whom and what kind of opportunities that they may be around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when your friend connects you with somebody else, that individual that you're working with knows you and they trust you. So you're sharing, hey, this is a friend that is
Mm-hmm.
looking for a role. And it actually kicks you up a notch outside of just some random individual that's contacted me on LinkedIn, right? So you get in a little easier. You get to the right people when your friend backs you up.
That is very, very true. So I think we all have this difficulty being comfortable with this word failure, right?
Yeah.
because one, you have to accept that you failed, which is hard to do, and then also how do you interpret failure also.
Yeah.
So can you go a little bit into that?
Yes, failure. I know that people. I have not been laid off,
Mm.
so I will give you that. I can understand the feelings that go into it, and I've had several dear friends that have, and I've sat with them in their grief. Um, it's hard for me to look at a layoff as a failure because the company goes in another direction, and your skill set and or budget cuts cause them to have to let someone go. I do understand how people can take it personally. Um, but at the same time, when that happens, you have to be able to accept it and then fall forward, right? So you take that setback and lean into it. Fall forward, look for the future. What is that going to be later on? If you have some wins or some successes at your previous role, laid off or not, what were those strengths that you brought to the table? What is the information that you have about yourself, about your drive that is going to help overcome the failure? Does that help?
Yes, yes, definitely. Um, as we have already said, I think everything is just about reframing and
Yeah.
really understanding that what an opportunity failing could even be, right?
Yeah.
I think, like I said, for those that have worked really hard and studied and did all the right things, just to end up
Yeah.
losing your position or even like changing your mind and wanting something else. It's such a difficult moment that you have to face, and it's usually yourself, which is actually harder to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad you have
Yeah.
this mindset.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, let's start talking about so those of you that are laid off in particular, let's talk about some tips um, for your downtime, right? So the time that I'm not at an official job, what should I be doing? What are some of the things that I need to focus on? This is really more focused on yourself versus the business. We're going to talk about resetting in a minute. But for your downtime, go ahead and grieve. We've talked about that. Do something special for yourself. The idea, however, is not to use money, right? Well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get a new wardrobe or a new look or a new this. Do something for yourself. Meditation, get a free yoga app, clean out an area that you haven't had time to. You've been wanting to go through your closet and you're like, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. Do that. Have you wanted to join a running club? Do that. You can get on your app, Couch to 5K, and focus on that. So do something you haven't had time to do. Clean out an area you haven't had time to. Spring clean your home. You would be surprised. I mean, we're talking baseboards and dusting the top of cabinets and the top of the refrigerator. You'll be surprised how clean and ready for a reset you will feel when you have an opportunity to do that, because you don't usually, and or if you do, you don't focus on it, right? So get in there and scrub something really hard and just get those feelings out. And then also reconnect with an old friend, and not just for networking, but is there a person from high school or college or the job you had 2 or 3 times ago that you really miss and you wonder what's going on with them? You have the time now to sit down and think about when can I have an opportunity to meet with them? I could shoot them a little email or a text, and I can have lunch with a friend and reconnect with maybe who I was in the past that will help me grow the person I'm going to be in the future. So that's just some tips for downtime. Do you have any other thoughts, Betty, or suggestions?
No, I like these.
Okay.
I think, as you're saying, that it's important to take care of yourself in these moments, right? Self care is
Mm,
becomes even more important,
yeah.
and so doing something for yourself And of course, we live in a bigger city here, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of key events that are happening, right?
Yeah.
And I like that you're focusing on the self care aspect, but I'm also going to bring in that networking aspect because as you're out there doing these interesting activities, whether you're going to the museum or
Mm.
attending some kind of event in your neighborhood area, you're really not sure who you're going to meet, right?
Nope.
So that could actually also spark that idea that you want to be a part of. You can meet someone who's actually looking for someone to hire,
Yeah. Mhm.
or a potential mentor. And so I really like that idea of
Yeah.
doing something outside, right? Not
Yeah.
just looking within your network. But then also reconnecting with an old friend, because I like that you're saying it's kind of bringing back the old you, right? To
Yeah.
then go ahead and create the new you as well, because
Yeah.
sometimes you need a reminder, and friends are great about doing that. So yes, I like all of these ideas.
Friends,
um,
the whole friend thing, especially when you go back to like high school or college years. Well, I mean, I've been out of both for a while. Some of you are probably, I mean, it is the young Ethiopian professional. So you
you
guys may
know,
have
we actually had to switch it to your Ethiopian professional because we're not so young anymore.
gotcha. Gotcha. Um, so when you reconnect with that high school friend, it is so funny how you revert back and there is a joy and they hold a mirror up to you that you forgot,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, I used to do that and I was good at it and I had fun at it. And it
Yes.
just it rejuvenates you in a way that your bestie right now doesn't. So
No,
it brings
that's
you back to who you were,
so
which helps
true.
you get in. Yeah.
Yeah, because you do really forget because it's been years, right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you meet that person, and it's very weird because you also become the old version of yourself,
Yes.
and you're
Yes.
like, oh, I forgot about her.
Yes, yes. I think about that every time I reconnect with my high school girlfriend.
Yeah.
There were just so many great memories and funny things that we did, and it's just every time I get off the phone with her, or after I've been hang out for a weekend with her, I just am so connected to myself, and I feel more like myself than ever just
Oh,
because of those meetings.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
And I like the accountability also, right? Because
yeah,
I feel like the older you get, then the more walls you're building also. So people don't even feel comfortable being very honest with you
yeah.
also, right? So your newer friends might not tell you, hey, you're acting crazy. It's okay.
And your older friends usually will.
Yes, I have the same exact feeling every time I connect with my high school friends, which I'm still very much friends with, by the way.
Yeah.
And every time I talk to them, it's like a moment of honesty and kind of humbleness, and
Yes.
it's kind of like,
Yes.
okay, yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
you're right. I don't know why I'm
Yeah. It feels
exactly,
good. It feels good.
definitely,
Um,
definitely,
okay, why don't we move on to the reset
yeah,
section? So
yeah.
these are going to be some hot tips, just based off of my experience, the friends that I have had um, lose their jobs, and then some of the professionals that they worked with, because there are organizations out there that will help um, give you lessons, help look at your resume, help look at your LinkedIn profiles and things like that. There are organizations that will help that. However, there's a whole lot you can do on your own without engaging with these organizations. So these are some of my suggestions and suggestions from my peers that have gone through the same thing. So first is create a schedule. Create a schedule not only for your self-care and your downtime, but you're going to create a schedule on how and what you're going to do to find a job. It's always best to follow um, uh, like a standard process for your schedule. So, what time are you going to get up? I'm going to make sure I'm up by this time every day. Make your bed, do some self care, put those clothes away, right? Just get your space organized and get your head organized and continually focus on those practices, right? I'm going to get up at 8 every morning. I'm going to get up at 7 every morning, whatever that is. Focus on keeping to that schedule because it helps you get your mind right. When you are laid off, that your job is to find a job, right? So I don't go to work anymore because I lost it. And now my job is that I have to find a job. Normally, we work 8 hours a day at a particular job. Some of you probably work even more than that a day at a particular job. But it's suggested not to put in 8 full hours of sitting on LinkedIn and applying for jobs. Because again, you want to make time for the networking opportunities. You want to make time for yourself. You want to make time for any certifications. So they suggest to do 4 hours a day. Say, I am going to sit here dedicated for 4 hours a day, and I'm going to apply for jobs. I'm going to find connections on LinkedIn. I am going to do a certain amount of networking opportunities. I'm going to research what those networking opportunities could do and then set goals. I'm going to apply to 10 jobs this week. I'm going to apply to 10 jobs a day. You'll find out what feels realistic. If you start with 200 jobs a day, that's probably not realistic. So set some realistic goals on that. I'm going to attend one networking opportunity a week and seek out those opportunities. If it's, sometimes, we've been talking about friends. Sometimes your friend will say, hey, why don't you stop by the office? I'll introduce you to a few people. We'll go have lunch. And you can see what I do. That would be a networking opportunity. So open your mind to what those possibilities are. I loved this suggestion too. Make a list of target companies. So are you drawn towards a private sector? Are you drawn towards a public sector? Are you looking for a small business to engage with? What does it look like for you? And then when you target those companies, you do a little stalking on LinkedIn and find somebody that works there that maybe has a job you'd be interested in, or is in the department you might be interested in, and reach out and message them on LinkedIn. Sometimes you're going to get no response, right? And that's okay. Sometimes you're going to get an in. So it's worth trying. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't take any time. And focus that as well in your schedule and your goals for the time that you're going to be doing this. Next, and I'm so sorry, I spelled ChatGPT wrong, but I did not start using this until recently, and I didn't know the bandwidth it has in order to really provide you with really good tips and some review of what you have online. So take your resume, review it, update it, then run it through ChatGPT and say, give me a review on my resume. What suggestions would you make to make this resume better? And it's going to pop out a bunch of stuff. Things might, jog your memory, or you'll be like, okay, I can put something specific on here. You can also, when you're looking for a particular job and you have the job description, you can put your resume and the job description into ChatGPT and say, how can I better align my resume to match this role? And it will give you suggestions on that. Brilliant, right? So use your resources. You can also use ChatGPT to do an audit on your LinkedIn. LinkedIn should be more of the story of you and your history and your work preferences versus the resume. The resume is very tactical, and it's, I worked here from this time to this time. These are the roles I had. These are the experiences. But when you looked on your LinkedIn, what does it say about you? I'm passionate about leadership development and success of the individuals that I coach. I feel like anyone that I coach, when they get a promotion or they reach the goal that they wanted to reach, I feel like it was my win as well. So what does that story look like? Things that you couldn't necessarily say on your resume. It'll help you with that as well. I also suggest keeping money aside for coffee chats or happy hours. So just a little kitty, a little pocket So you ensure that you have something when you're going out and meeting people, and you can have a cup of coffee. It's just nice to put that away in your budget and not look at it, so that you always have a little something when you need it. And then finally, and we've talked about this extensively, don't forget your friend network. A lot of your friends have been laid off or have been in situations where they were dissatisfied, and they're the ones that are going to build you up, help make some connections, and get you focused on what it is that you need to be doing and how you need to feel. But you got to ask them. They're not just going to come to you. You got to ask them.
Yeah.
So those are some of my ideas for resetting, where you want to be and what you want to do, and how to get there.
And again, I like this very much. I like that it's very thorough. I like that it always incorporates self-care, because again, I think the first thing to do is abandon yourself in these kinds of moments, and we always forget the importance of self-care and even building yourself up back again, right?
Yeah.
Having a specific routine, making sure to take yourself out for a coffee, or these networking events, so that you feel like you're a part of a community. And of course, as you're saying, everybody's impacted. Even those that are not impacted, that are still employed, are in constant fear that it's going to happen to them, right? So
Yeah.
there's nothing to be ashamed of, to be afraid of. It could happen to any of us. So,
It's happening all over the place right now. I mean, companies that you think would never lay off are laying off. Southwest Airlines was never going to lay off.
yeah.
That was one of the things that they used to advertise was, come work for us. We don't do layoffs like the other airlines. Well, it got to a point where they had to. So,
Mm.
you can never 100% be comfortable until you get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
That is very true.
Yeah.
And it's that you don't have a lot of control.
You don't. You don't have a lot of control, especially nowadays. You can only control your habits and what you want and how you think about things. And there are times where you got to let something go, that maybe you don't want to, but it's better for you if you learn how to do those things.
Hmm. No, that's very, very valid. So I would like to give a chance for our audience to ask any
Okay.
questions if they have any. Please feel free to add your questions onto a chat, so that Petra might be able to answer them. But in the meantime, Petra, if you'd like to summarize our discussion today, I feel like
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
looked at it from different perspectives, starting from the beginning, all the way to resetting, right? So
Yeah.
yes, I will give you that opportunity now.
Awesome. Like I said, I've had several friends recently, my Southwest friends that have been laid off. The gentleman I talked to earlier this week. I've even gone into some challenges with my nephew, works for NOAA, and with the government shutdown, he was not working for a month and a half. My brother works for the Department of Defense. He's helicopter maintenance and crew chief of a helicopters, and all of his roles. He's back at work now since the government shutdown is over. My nephew is back at work now, but things are already looking different. So during their time off, they were thinking about, what happens if I don't go back to work? What happens next? And both were focused on, well, what can I do for myself? And specifically, my brother, when I was talking to him, I mean, he was going stir crazy. And so he started with his list of things. He made a list of things that he's wanted to do in the last year. And he went and started checking them off, checking them off, checking them off.
Mm.
And then every day he would look back at some of his manuals and just to make sure that he was keeping himself fresh, even though he was out for over a month. So really focused in on what is going to make him feel good and what is going to help him in the long run, as well as um, focused on the things that he needed to focus on for his role.
Mm.
So I think it's just a good example of resiliency when things like this happen. You lose a job and you can circle back around and look at what the positives might be.
Yeah, Definitely. And I feel like we've overlooked one important possibility here, and that's
Yeah.
volunteering, really, right? I feel like
Oh,
volunteering always gives you a great opportunity, and even though it's not financially motivating, right? It
yeah,
means millions, but
yeah,
if you would like to be exposed to a certain profession, that would be the best way to do so, and to also create connections. So, how do you
yeah.
feel about that?
So what are you passionate about, right? Um, I am on a community website that shares community opportunities. So, like here in the Outer Banks, we're very focused on resources. We're focused on um, uh, recycling. We're focused on keeping the beaches clean for the turtles. May not be interesting to any of you, but it was interesting to me. And so they'll put it out on our community website. Hey, we're going to pick up trash next Wednesday. We're going to have 3 different teams. We've got vests, we've got all the equipment you'll need. And you just show up at a location, you meet with a team, you go out on the beach, and yes, you're spending the day on the beach, which is a lovely place, but you're picking up trash and making sure it's kept lovely. And you're also side by side with other members in the community that you can make connections with. So, what are you passionate about? Is food banks, if that's your passion, most food banks, you want to make sure people are fed. Most food banks have opportunities to volunteer, sorting food, um, networking with grocery stores to take anything extra off their hands, setting up a food drive. There's a variety of opportunities if that's something that's passionate about you. But again, it's about getting in and getting with your community and opening and building your network. The
Mm,
bigger your network is, the quicker you're going to get something.
mm, that is very true. That is very true. And I like that you're also looking at it from another perspective, which is networking, because I feel like networking is so looked down upon, because there's an element of eagerness and
Yeah.
like opportunistic even,
Yeah.
but it may not lead to your current position, but like we said, or your upcoming position, but from that
Mhm.
specific person, but it's who they know also, right? So
Yeah.
it's you don't have to appear as opportunistic, but letting other people know, I think, invites them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, Betty, because networking networking can have a nasty kind of feel to it. And remember, we were talking about it's hard to sell yourself,
Mhm.
or you feel uncomfortable selling yourself. Some of
Yes.
these community opportunities or your friend opportunities help you feel a little bit more natural in the moment, and you can be more open and willing. And you're talking about different things. You're not necessarily just talking about selling yourself, even though you bring it back around. So it's funny you say that because there is a kind of a weird edge. Oh, well, she's a networker. Yeah. And that's not a bad word. It's not a bad
It's
word.
not a bad word.
Mm-mm. No, no, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You also don't want people to think that, you're being friendly with them because you're wanting something out
Right.
of it, right?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
feel like that takes the authenticity of, these connections and these networks that you
Hmm.
can build.
Yeah.
But I think even just showing who you are and what you're passionate about by, like we're saying, volunteering really
Yeah.
shows what kind of person you are, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I was talking with a client this morning, and she's having trouble with one of the girls that works for her. And whenever they go to a client meeting, this other individual tends to dominate the conversation. And the client is not necessarily receptive to that. And they're like, okay, well, why is she just constantly talking about herself? And, you have to think about that. The most people are going to be interested in you is when you are interested in them.
Yes.
When you when, when you ask questions about about an individual and you are interested in what they're doing and what's going on and what's happening in their lives, what they get jazzed about. Oh my gosh, talk about myself. I'm going to talk about myself. And that's when you can pick up some of those keywords. It feels a little more natural, and you can then um, share an example that you have with the individual, so it feels more natural, and you feel not like you're trying to, get in there and schmooze.
Yeah,
Um, so it helps guide the conversation when you can be interested.
exactly.
and they will
Oh,
be
so
interested back.
good. That is true, because I think most of us find ourselves very interesting. So,
Yeah. Heck yeah. We're some of the best people we know.
Exactly,
Yeah. I do think most people don't go out to intentionally be negative and mean, and at least that's what I like to believe in my heart. I think
Yeah,
people have the best intentions. They just don't sometimes land the way they should. Uh, but you have to be forgiving with that.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think I really enjoyed our conversation today, honestly,
Thank you,
because
Betty.
um, for me, even like professionally, I'm a research scientist, so I'm in the lab all day long. It has nothing to do what I'm doing with Yep. I'm a lab nerd person. But what's really interesting is that I like meeting people. I like talking. I like asking
Yeah.
questions. So when the opportunity presented itself, I actually became a part of Yep so that
Yeah.
I can do things like this because I am
Yeah.
very passionate, right, about talking about difficult things and especially bringing opportunities and giving people access to those that they may not have, like someone might not
Yeah.
have a direct access to professional like coaching
Yeah.
session, a leadership coach such as yourself, but today they did, right? And then if they
Yeah.
any follow-up questions, they can definitely reach out to us so that they can have access to you as well.
Yes.
It's really funny that we've been saying that from just doing these interviews, I now know a lawyer, a professional leadership coach,
That's
uh,
awesome. And I now know a research scientist.
a financial person. Like, what would have been? We would never have met, right? We would never
Yeah.
have interacted. But now the
No.
network itself is like expanding,
Yeah.
right? Which is incredible. So
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to drive today, I think, is
Yeah.
to look at networking differently because I know it's icky. I know it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to sound like, what is it, a broken record, but it's
Yeah.
this is especially difficult to do for people such as ourselves, that are immigrants, um, to speak highly of yourself or to even go out and ask people because we have a lot of shame, associated with that.
Yeah.
We want to look proud. We want to look like we are achieving things. And so I wanted to take that stigma away and say, it's okay. It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
if you had been let go, it's okay. If you have decided to change your mind, it's okay. If you don't feel satisfied anymore with your current role, that's also okay. You can always pivot, right? Because nobody's gonna live your life. Your family's not gonna live your life here. Whoever's in your community is not gonna live your life. It's you.
Yeah.
So you want it to be satisfactory. And I think we have to let go of a lot of this shame that we have. And so
Yeah.
I like that today's conversation was focused on, um, s- you know, s- work that we have to do on the inside, right? So starting with the pre-work that we talked about, which is accepting the situation and grieving and wallowing in your
So okay.
sadness for however long, preferably 3 business days, but however long it's going to be. And
Can I
then,
share a couple more tips with you real quick before you
yes,
go
please.
on?
Yeah.
So, I read a fascinating study about when you go to a networking event
Uh-huh.
and you are in the event itself, especially introverts, they have a tendency to stay by the front door when people are coming in and out. Well, people don't want to talk when they're coming in the door. The first thing they're going to want to do is go to the bar and get a drink. Whether it's an alcoholic beverage or a non-alcoholic beverage, it doesn't matter. People like to have something in their hand. So I would also encourage that for anyone out there going,
Hmm.
have something in your hand um, to drink, especially when you get choked up or you're nervous or whatever. But they said to stand where people come out of the bar.
Oh,
And that's where, when people have a cocktail or a drink in their hand, they go, oh, now I can talk, right? The first thing they want is that security of a
mm,
drink in their hand. And once they have the drink in their hand, then they can start moving around. So it was suggested that you don't stand at the front door, you stand at where people come out from the bar.
Good. See, something I did not even
I
know.
know. And I was like, well, that is brilliant. Where you place yourself makes a difference.
Yes. Thank you
Yeah.
for that tidbit. But yes, this, like I said, is definitely very timely, and I'm glad we had this conversation. We want to make sure that the audience, has enough resources. So
Yeah.
if there's any resources, books
Mhm.
that you think are very helpful for anyone, again, looking to pivot, please let us know, and we will make sure to share it with our audience.
Okay.
Additionally, I want to encourage people to reach out because with INDIEP, we do have a career professional development team, and that's what they're passionate
Yeah.
about. It's what they would like to help you with.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for mentors, if you're looking for opportunities, reach out to us. We may have already people in mind that
Yeah.
be able to give you that access, right? Because as you said, the first thing to do is go to someone and see what they do day to day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
See if that's something you're actually interested in. So we can definitely help you there. There's always posts that are also being made with open positions. So make sure to follow our newsletters as well. And then, of course, those of you that already that have access to job opportunities as well, please make sure to share it with others so that we can help each other within our network. I'm not going to be cringe and say your network is your net worth, but that is very true.
You know, I have a huge network, Betty, and I'm very proud of it. And I work to keep it up and I work to stay engaged and involved because I know that because I have a large network, when my friends or when previous coworkers come to me, I can
Yeah,
help set them up for success.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
So it is my net worth.
Yeah. That sounds great. Again, I can't thank you enough, honestly, because you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
of each speaker that comes and has these discussions with us, as them willing to spend an hour of their time, 2 hours of their time, right? Because we do a lot of preps
Yeah.
behind as well. You creating the slides and finding resources, that all takes time. So I would like to thank you very much for giving us your knowledge, your
Thank you.
expertise, as well as your time.
It was a privilege to be invited. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I hope our audience was able to take some helpful nuggets from
Yeah.
this. Please, again, reach out to us if you need help, any assistance.
Yeah.
We would like to do anything we can to really support each other. So,
Awesome.
okay. I hope you have a
Well,
wonderful. Yes, go
you
ahead.
you bet. If there's no questions, yeah, uh, I will compile a few more examples of things. So we already had two books we talked about: Strengths Finder um, by Tom Rath, and The Art of the Pivot by Adam Markle.
Mhm.
There's a variety of podcasts out there too. So do some research on podcasts. And Mel Robbins' podcast is very uplifting in a lot of ways, and she gives you some good tips and has on a lot of different psychologists and stuff. So do your research.
Yeah, definitely. And we will also be posting some snippets from today's discussion on our sites, whether it's on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook. So if you don't have the opportunity to watch the entire thing, you can also watch segments of these discussions as well. So
Awesome.
again, thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you. You
And,
too.
hopefully, we will speak to each other again.
I would love that.
Excellent. Okay.
All right.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Betty.
Mhm.